and welcome to the Royal Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rollison, also known as T-Roll. And tonight, I'm joined by my very good friends. First of all, we have Justin Sandoval, a.k.a. Sandy. And we also have Anthony Amato, who we like to call Shamato. Boys, how we feeling tonight?
Dude, what a journey to get here, man.
Yeah.
Big journey.
Big journey. Yep. What do you guys feel like this was like the biggest cram session these last 4 weeks?
No, it was totally fine.
Yeah. It was so easy, you guys.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like we were running a marathon every week. And we had not trained.
No, yeah. Yeah, no way.
Speak for yourself. Gosh, man. Yeah, we are finally done with Andor. And it sounds like I didn't enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, but it was 12 episodes in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Man. Thankfully, the content was elite.
At least it was
At least
good.
push that along because it would have been awful.
Drag. Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, Tyrell, you were obviously not here last week for our quote-unquote penultimate review.
That's right. Yeah, right.
But I jokingly said this on the podcast with Steven and Shamato, but I was like, the reason that Tyler's not here right now is because he couldn't keep up with the episode count. And turned out that was actually pretty true, actually.
Yeah, no, that's could not. So I think I watched all 6 episodes or the last 6 this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is nutty.
Yeah.
Nutty.
There you go.
Yeah. Welcome to my world. Doing the best I can, I promise you. But anyways, we are here to review episodes 10, 11, and 12 of Andor Season 2. We are excited to do so, but before we jump into the review, we want to remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. While you're at it, why don't you share this podcast with your friends? Hit that little share button. You've got to have friends in your life that like Star Wars, that certainly love Andor because it's the greatest show ever. And if you can help us out by sharing this podcast with some of your friends, please do so. Boys, I think we should just jump in.
Let's do it.
Here's your spoiler warning. Episodes, again, 10, 11, and 12, the final batch of 3, a very good batch. What do you guys think, man? What are you thinking?
The first thing I will say is, who can raise their hand and say, hey, going into this season, I really wanted to know the backstory of Clea. Who could raise their hand and say that?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Second of all, who going into this season could even remember the name of Clea?
Dude, you're so right. You're 100% right.
That is one of my biggest takeaways from this arc is not only was her storyline phenomenal, I actually wanted to know about it as I was watching
more.
it.
Yeah. Episode 10 in general, where that happens, I think I texted you guys where I was like, man, this episode was just sensational.
Yes.
From beginning to end, the way they weaved in her backstory with what the struggle was actually happening, the way they aligned the explosions. I mean, the standoff with Dedra, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The standoff with Dedra and Luthen was remarkable.
Yeah.
Maybe one of my favorite moments of the whole show.
Dude, you're right, dude. That was an incredible scene.
It's been a great show, but that was up
been.
there.
Yeah.
I know. I forget where I dropped this line at, but I was in some group chat. Maybe it was with our group chat, or another one. But I honestly and truly believe that episodes 8, 9, 10, and 11 might be the greatest 4-episode stretch in TV history. Each episode was absolutely insane, and trust me, there's been phenomenal episode runs through other shows out there, but this might be in a category of its own. It was so good, and then to have that 8 through 11 be that good, right? And then I feel like 12 was the perfect bow at the end of this gift. It was so good, man.
Yeah, I mean, the way 12 ends, I mean, we're jumping all over the place here, but...
It's general. This is all general discussion.
Yeah, the way it ends and flows right into Rogue One, literally.
Yeah.
Just like Rogue One flowed right into A New Hope, Pretty cool.
It's so cool.
But you're right, Amato, would not have thought anything of Clea.
Yeah.
I got the sense, maybe not in Season 1, but early in this season where it's she's very important. She is... The way she speaks to Luthen sometimes is is she in charge? Sometimes I wonder that. But
yeah, at the beginning this season, they actually did start you're wait a second, there's something more here. She isn't just
She's
a background
player,
character.
Fun fact that I learned just because it's the wrap up of Andor and everyone's talking about Andor and they're interviewing actors and directors and stuff like that. The showrunner Tony Gilroy had mentioned in an interview. It is the actress who plays Clea. I forgot her name. Sorry, I completely forgot. Anyway,
Elizabeth Delau.
okay, awesome. This is her very first acting credit. She graduated from drama school and went straight into Andor. And
Wow. So she's young.
yeah, well, relatively, yes.
Yeah.
But she, incredible.
That's awesome.
She was incredible. I love
How
it.
about that. That's you don't hear that often.
No, you don't.
You do not hear that often. But yeah, I mean, episode 10, remarkable. So Lonnie is,
Ooh.
coming to Luthen with like something urgent.
He apparently like alerted the emergency line where it was like if you pull this or if you send this code, it means that Luthen needs to come to him.
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
was
Yeah.
a pretty big deal.
Yep, extremely urgent. And this is where Luthen, he doesn't know what the Death Star is, but just a weapon, very
Yeah.
powerful
Yes.
weapon. Lonnie knows it's important. He doesn't know. Again, they don't know Death Star. We learn a little later with Dedra how she learns about that, but he knew like this is important. I have to tell Luthen. I think it's pretty sad that Luthen kills him.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And only for his dead body to be found by a loth cat. Did you see that?
Yes.
The little dude
Yeah.
is so cool. But yeah, if anything, it's a reflection of the opening of Rogue One.
I was just which we get alluded to
Yeah,
at the end of episode
we
12.
do. Yep. Andor just has to kill Tavik because
Yeah.
he just knows too much.
Yeah, so the lengths that the rebellion has to go, I mean, they're by no means pure.
No.
They really are rebel scum in some ways, but you got to be to defeat the Empire. You got to get your hands dirty. So
Yeah.
Luthen does that, kills Lonnie, meets up with Clea, and it's sad that that's their last moment because it's so rushed. Like they
Yeah.
didn't get to say bye. It's like when you're in a rebellion, it's like every moment could be your last.
Oh
Yes.
man, so crucial. So crucial.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And just like it's you see this moment of him like protecting her, like like she wants to be the one who stays behind to burn essentially everything to the ground that they have,
Right.
Yeah.
that can connect them. But she like he forces her to go without him.
Yeah, yeah.
Which leads to the scene that you talked about with
Ugh.
Dedra coming by the antique shop or the collection shop,
So
or whatever you want to call
what
it.
you guys think about this scene and her motives and her actions and all of it?
I found her playing it quote unquote dumb to be very entertaining on her end because
Yeah.
she was just like, "Are all these real? Forgeries are high around here, like that kind of thing." And
Yeah.
she's like talking about certain pieces. He shows her the blade, like the
Sacrificial blade, yeah.
yeah,
It was-
and he's just talking about it, and they're just having normal conversation, and she's just asking questions. She's like, "Well, what brings me here is like I just wanted to have a old imperial, whatever it was," and that was
Yes.
from season 1.
yeah,
And
literally the inciting incident
Yes.
of Andor.
There
Yes.
you go, from episode 1.
yes.
Yeah. And dude, it was so cool just
Yeah.
watching that unfold.
Yeah, in my mind, it was her way. It was her victory lap. In my
Yes.
mind, like that was what it was supposed to be.
Exactly.
At least.
Supposed to be.
And unfortunately, for when we're thinking about Dedra, like I think one of the big things kind of we got to think about is like everything that she thought was supposed to be like these great moments for her fall apart in her hands.
Yeah,
Like, and it's like there's just so much that she has some very tragic like endings to these things that are supposed to be these triumphant moments for her.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I found it very interesting that Luthen, he in his conversation with her, and once she reveals what her true motives are, you're surrounded, that kind of thing. He's like, the rebels moved on.
Yeah.
Like, no one's here
Yeah.
anymore. Like it's
Flown
just
away.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the way he in not only he they say they flew away, but they're everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's right.
Oof. In which we do hear one of the ISB agents later on. They're like, it just won't stop growing. Like they talking about
Yeah.
they're popping up everywhere and they can't control it.
Yeah, and Partagaz or
Partagaz, yeah.
Partagaz. Yeah, he even has like the recording at one point where it's literally talking
from
about
Nemec?
like
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, so my thing, so I said earlier how I love this scene with Dedra and Luthen, and I do. But if you just think like practically, like
It's a really bad move.
Bad move on her call. She's so good with moves usually.
I think the biggest issue to understand here is that she is not a field agent. I think that's where it comes down to. It's like she is a director. She moves pieces.
She's a plotter. She's a planner.
Yes, like she isn't supposed to be the person who's in the room with the enemy. That's in the room with the very like important things. There are there are things that certain people can do and certain other people can't do, and I think that's kind of what it plays out as. Is that like she's great at all this planning and stuff like this, but she's not like she would have been terrible down, down in the Gorman massacre in the early episodes. You even see the way that she reacts after it happens, like the way she's just like,
Shook,
she's shook by it. And you see the same thing happen like here, where she misjudges the situation. She kind of jumps the gun, and she handles it poorly. Like, why would you not want to secure the person that you are? At least have a couple people in there with you. You can start gloating, but like maybe get some handcuffs on him before you start gloating.
All gloating, man. It's a shame because she was a strong character.
Yeah,
so true.
It was. I don't know. It's like that scene in I forgot what player was doing it, but like they're driving down the lane and they put up the layup, and LeBron just comes out of nowhere and just smacks it out. Like you think you have the easiest shot in the world, and then all of a sudden it's just gone.
Dude, that's
true. Again,
true.
I'm skipping forward here, but it's like, okay, Dedra, it's okay. Think about this for a second. Lonnie dead on a park bench.
Yeah.
Dedra in a prison cell. Sorry, my dog is growling over here. Here, used as a freaking ragdoll,
oh gosh,
freaking
K2SO just
what do you call it when body shield?
Oh yeah,
God, I cannot talk tonight, guys, and I'm doing a freaking podcast. And then Partagas, suicide.
Yeah,
which is crazy because he was such a strong character and to have such a pitiful ending. I mean,
I think it was just one of those moments where he literally just saw all the pieces fall apart in front of him.
Yes.
And it was just like
all on his watch.
And he knew nothing was going to he knew that he was going down to essentially face his own. He essentially they were like, you can either, take your own do your own thing or come down and we'll take care of it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, so good.
So anyways, all the backstory though. How about the backstory? You talked about it briefly with Clea.
Yes. Cutting in and out, and it's like
little young Gamora with Thanos here,
a little bit,
wow, good cut.
And it was kind of like crazy with you get to see. You also get I think a very useful tidbit on Luthen, like what he was. He was
some sort of Imperial soldier.
Like Sergeant Lear.
Not just like I don't think he even was a soldier. Like they were something different. I think they were literally like death squads.
Yeah,
like that was not that wasn't just we're fighting.
They're Nazis.
Essentially,
Make it stop. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, like because like you would hear the chatter, and they'd just be like anything that moves, kill it. Like that's not like like that is like the way they were talking was just like it was not a. This is a like military operation. It sounded much more like literally they're there for systemic like eliminations of populations.
Yeah.
And but you're right. The weaving in of Clea's backstory as she is trying to make it to a hurt, dying. They're like the Empire is keeping him alive. Like the medical unit that's like hanging from the ceiling is like pumping his chest. Like it was the visuals were incredible on that. It would literally keeping him alive.
Which I do want to throw back the whole fact that he uses a sacrificial dagger to sacrifice himself.
That's right.
I just want that to be on the pod as a
and like when she starts questioning items in his shop, he's smart enough to grab the dagger just in case he needs it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool is like at the moment you're like,
is he about to use it on her?
Yeah. Is he about to like?
Yeah, for sure. And
but once again, it kind of like even in that moment, you're kind of given the whole like idea of that we're kind of building on what Andor was trying. What the big lesson that I feel like Andor had to learn this season was the difference between killing for the cause and dying for the cause. And I think in that moment, you see even Luthen knew what line he fell on that question.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and Dedra said numerous times, she's like, "I need him alive. You need to keep him alive. Like whatever you need to do, he needs to be
Yeah.
talking by tomorrow night, like that kind of thing."
Yeah.
And I did the whole scene where Clea is sneaking to get to him is, dude,
she's a G.
how incredible was that? And then,
Dude,
and then,
it was you know what it was?
what was that?
It was an it was a mission from the Hitman video game.
Oh yeah, no, it felt like
Essentially,
that.
yeah.
It felt like that, for
Literally.
sure. And to top it all off, at the end, like when she like leaves, and they like it was a 3-man job. Like I was like,
Yes,
dude, no,
that was
it
phenomenal.
not.
That was cool.
It
That
was,
was
no,
super
it was,
cool.
It
That was
was
super
one
cool.
one Clea. That
Yeah,
was
like
it.
there were so many little things that she did, and like especially when she was walking up, it was really cool. There was after what was really cool is like after the explosion, like you could see her like she was walking and she was this terrified nurse for this moment, and then you see like the stormtroopers go by, and then you see her face change, and she has like this face of almost like this tinge of disgust as she's watching them go by.
Yeah.
And like then she's like back on the mission. Like it was just like these little itty bitty things. You're just
Yeah, it
seeing
was
her
awesome.
being very like exact and calculated in everything that she was doing.
It was so good, man. So she ultimately gets up to the room, and you know, like there was a part of me that was like, I think she's going to kill him. She's probably going to go kill him. But I was like, is there a chance she's going to try to save him? But nope. Ultimately,
Yeah.
literally pulled the plug.
Yeah, pulled the
Yep.
plug. I thought it was a very good visual shot of her, like the tear trickling down, and then she gives him a kiss on his forehead.
Yeah.
Like that was, especially what we learned, like all that we learned through the backstory on how like pivotal he was in her life.
Yeah.
Saved her honestly, and then was like a pseudo father figure.
Yeah,
and then he trained
he
her up.
gave her direction.
Yeah.
Is what it was. He gave the anger that she had as from a child direction in like towards a cause, and he showed her like how to use it, when to use it, you know, all this kind of stuff. Like, you know, don't let yourself be distracted by outside things. Like direct your anger correctly, and it can be a force. Is essentially what he was trying to teach her.
I also like how, you know, her backstory is like them, like, you know, stealing things and pawning them off and making money, and they basically do that with like high end stuff.
Yeah, they essentially
Work their way up to
it's it's a literal embodiment of start at the bottom and now
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's
exactly.
yeah, but it was very cool, and I love like I really love the scene when they're at the restaurant and like they're just talking, and like you know, like you start figuring out like, oh, they're gonna blow up the bridge behind them, you know, or the units behind them. And like he's basically just talking about her, and he's trying to get her to think in the right mindset of why she's doing this, and you know, get in and make the choice. And then I loved how when she was ready to make the choice, he stops her, and then he does it himself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it wasn't about wanting her to do it; it was about wanting to. It was about her making a choice.
right.
But he was
Her
still
belief
there
and then
to
choice.
protect
Yep.
her.
Once he
And
saw
yeah.
that she was willing to do it, he's like, okay, well, I got it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll take the ramifications of this. So.
And the way this episode ends, episode 10, I mean, again, maybe my favorite episode, and one of my, well, there's some bangers in season 1, but maybe one of my favorite episodes in the whole series. And the way it ends, with just kind of like a subtle tribute to Luthen. It just ends with a shot of him, and it goes quiet and goes dark.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know. And again, I think like if this was week to week, it'd be like, oh man, we would have a whole week to sit on that.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. Instead, they made the Royal Geek podcast cram 12 episodes in 4 weeks, which I'm still very bitter about.
Yeah, and not short episodes either. They were
No,
they were
to the
lengthy.
point where I'm doing this podcast right now, right? And there's 2 things I remember about this 3 weeks, or 3 episodes. One, episode 10, I loved it. Second thing I remember, episode 12 was like, you said earlier, like put a perfect bow on it. I was like, I didn't really like episode 12, but it's because it just filled in gaps. Like there wasn't anything substantial for me that happened.
It was laying out the
Yeah.
what has occurred.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, the problem with
Perfect
episode
bridge,
the,
perfect
the episode the problem with episode 12 is the action that you're wanting happens in Rogue One.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
you
Exactly.
know, it's-
exactly.
There
Which
has
is-
to be a connecting
Which
piece.
is fine, but
Yeah.
here's my point again. If I could be critical about one thing with this series, is it's just the releasing of it. Like, again, I'm the guy who had to cram 6 episodes this week to catch up for the podcast. I get it. but to the point where one of you guys need to take over now because I don't remember a single thing that happened in episode 11. What happened in episode 11? I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, a large part of episode 11 is also like the Clea story, like
Enlighten me. I don't remember.
especially beginning and after that and her trying to
She goes back to the safe house.
she goes back to the safe house, and she's trying to get information out again. Essentially,
She has all of the big weapon. She memorized what's going on. They're mining kyber crystals. They're getting fuel from Gorman. Like it's just she has all the info and nowhere to release it to. And so in the safe house is a radio that she uncovers from inside the wall.
Yes,
And she sends out a message and hopes that somebody is on the other end. And I love how we go back to Yavin. And Will is coming back into his little hut with the chick from Gorman.
yeah, Drina, I think.
Yeah,
is her name.
there you go. That's it, Drina. And she's like, "What's this? Like, what's under the bed? Like, this whole thing." And he's like, she's questioning him, like, "Is this like good spy stuff or bad spy stuff?"
Yeah, it's like, what if Willman was on a mission on another planet and Drina wasn't there and their home was vacant?
True. Good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah, well, I think it's also like the idea that at this moment, like Yavin is very, very particular about stuff being there. Like
Who's Yavin?
Yavin.
Yavin,
Yavin.
the planet. Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, they're very particular about stuff like that being there. They
Yeah.
do not like.
Yeah, they're making you check in, check out.
Yes, dude.
Yeah, so like having an external communication device is extremely dangerous for the protection
Bro,
of.
I feel like I saw Andor break those rules like 12 times.
Numerous times, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how Will he's running to Andor with it, but then Andor's playing a game with K2SO and Melshi.
Yes, yeah,
And their just interaction was all like it was very
Wholesome and fun.
yeah.
good, perfect,
Yes.
yeah. And K2SO is in like peak form of
Yes.
just like
Incredible.
witty, and the banter is incredible.
He's calling out Melshi.
Yes.
He's like
He's like, I've seen you. We've played like 593 times, which is an enormous sample size for me to tell you that you're.
You would never make a bet like
yes,
this.
correct.
It's your last chance to take your bet back or
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah.
And then Will comes and breaks it all up, and
He's stressing.
yeah,
But honestly, like, the only thing that I will critique about the series is I did not like the character of Woolman.
Yeah.
I felt like he had.
I remember
too
you
much,
said that early in like the first 3 episodes. Yeah.
I feel like he has too much like positive energy for a dude who, like I said, essentially kills Brasso and essentially like. At the end of the second arc, he's almost gets or I'm sorry, it's the end of the third arc. Is he essentially almost gets Andor killed because he's all up on Drina,
yeah,
Right.
trying to do that kind of stuff. And I just felt like he maybe got a little bit too much. Like he was just too much of a puppy dog in my mind. Like
And what's crazy is like Melshi is like in Rogue One, and you see him again here in Andor.
Yeah.
But it's like Willman's very important. Willman's very close to Andor.
yes,
He ain't in Rogue One, and it's like the next day. So like
that's true.
that
Good
was-
point.
Like you would have thought a character like that they'd kill off or maybe go to live on some other planet.
They did give him a limp to kind of like talk him out of the being able to be in the series. Like
Yeah.
as far as Rogue One goes, like Will had a limp and he didn't normally. He was hurt
Yeah.
on Gorman.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I that's how they're reasoning it. I think
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, and
Minor
so-
point doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all. No. But Andor's like, okay, we're gonna go figure out who it is and
Yeah.
what it is, and they fly off illegally.
yes,
Uh,
they do. Apparently breaking 18 laws by the end.
by K2SO's count. I love
So
how
good.
he said 17, and then he's like, turn off the
18.
the radio.
Yeah.
Click 18.
Yes,
He is so good,
yeah,
man.
he's phenomenal.
I think it's with him. It's like comedic timing for. I mean, obviously, droids have multiple personalities in Star Wars universe. Like,
Yes.
it's incredible on how you can make a droid that charismatic and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? But like, yeah, his timing is incredible, absolutely incredible. But they fly to Coruscant. And they figure out where they need to go, which
Yes.
is the safe house, which Andor knew right away because that's where he was
Yeah.
held up for years with Bix.
But it is interesting that this safe house is like
run down. now.
obviously run down. Like
Yeah.
there's something has happened in this year that they were gone.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years for them. I think. Since-
It might have been 2 years. Yeah, since yeah.
and so it turns into the ISB have found the frequency because they're in Luthen's joint and they are listening to everything, and they track it down. And was it Herit, or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Hirt. He takes a task force because, of course, right? He's got to go, even though he looks like his scrawny,
Bro, I know.
like
Yeah,
pathetic.
because he wanted to, he wants the glory.
It's like
But the thing-
Cyril from season 1.
Yeah. Oh, dang!
Honestly,
dude, that's good. Yeah.
Eric.
Honestly, it kind of shows like the hole in like a lot of the ISB like things, because in the way in a lot of the things that are built in the Empire is like everything's about how can you bring glory to yourself.
Yeah.
So like even like here you have that. Even like Krennic is about building up his own like his own worth in the eyes of the Emperor. Even to a lesser extent, Dedra, a lot of it is about like how can she get herself higher. Even Cyril was built a lot of his character in season 1, especially, was built around that. Was it built up like how can I move up rungs of the ladder?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And so it's essentially a race to the signal, and
But only like Andor never suspects that.
no, not
That's
one
what's
time,
crazy.
not one time. Even when the comms went out when they're going up the elevator,
Yeah.
that would be a big deal right there. Like, but
Yeah.
it was not a red flag for some reason for Andor, and he's the most paranoid person in this entire series. Like, so he should have picked up on that.
Well, I think at that moment, like he even states when he's going off, and Willman's talking, and he's like, if it's a trap, then it's a trap, and it's like I think at that moment he may have thought it might be a trap, but like he knew that there was something up there that was so important that it didn't matter whether it was a trap or not. It is kind of how I think
right.
the way he was thinking about it, he's like,
They have to do this.
Yeah.
That's clearly important.
it has to be done either way.
Yeah. And so they go up. K2SO's like in the ship, and he's like, okay, comms are down. He sees them land, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go
Time
ahead.
for action.
Yeah, he walks out and
Go-
gingerly.
These droids are so OP, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't
they're-
yeah.
What can stop them besides like a moving truck or whatever?
Or an EMP, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm sure there's something that they have to like turn them off. Like otherwise,
I mean, there'd have to be for sure.
some controls.
But as
I love the first guy that he shows up. He's like, "Oh, are you with us?" And then he just go like,
yeah,
just
I love
No, and
the
smacks him off the bridge.
"Yeah,
I love the radio banter between ISB like headquarters and then them. He's like, "Did you guys send backup?" He's like, "No, we didn't send. Is he with you? Is he with you?" And then
Droid
he's
with
like,
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's when he like questions them and he gets thrown off the bridge.
And I also love how Partagas in that room, like, so it was Partagas's idea to like, hey, we're going to cover this up with like, it's a potential medical breakout.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and because of that, that room there's like 4 people in there.
yeah,
It's empty.
yeah."
They are
all their
overworked.
units are spread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they had no ability to get back
Yeah.
up.
Which is a great like it just shows like their ability to write like in that moment where they literally, because otherwise it'd be a little bit like, well, why can't they just call in more units?
Yeah.
You know, why don't they have more units available?
Exactly, but you
Well,
understand
Shooting
why.
himself in the foot. That's why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so obviously Andor and Melshi get up there to Clea. He does like the secret knock, but she doesn't let him in. And then he's finally like, "Hey, it's me,
Yeah,
it's
it's me."
Andor, it's Cassian."
Yeah.
Lets him in. She tells them everything. But the
Yeah.
whole time this is going on, the tactical force is moving in closer.
Yeah.
Which I found it interesting that the tactical force was not necessarily like stormtroopers, but they had stormtrooper like armor.
Here,
Yes.
yeah.
Their heads were showing.
well, I think
so-
they were ISB agents.
Yeah, but I feel like to use the similar armor,
Yeah.
it was, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because we've only ever seen like quote unquote stormtroopers.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were ISB that wore armor similar to.
Yeah,
that.
I
don't
think
know. I
it
don't know.
was-
I
yeah.
just I was it was just interesting to me.
It was an interesting look. It did seem like less like, I don't know, like protective,
Yeah.
especially because of
Yes.
course you don't have
Yes,
your head protected. Although, how much does that really?
it doesn't. Yeah,
It's-
it does
yeah,
nothing.
it's-
It does nothing. They literally
yeah.
go down in one shot. So.
Yeah. But yeah, and one thing I did find interesting with Clea and like in the room, it didn't seem like at first like Andor was grasping the gravity of what she was trying to tell
Yeah,
him.
I know.
Which was so
It's
strange because
stressful.
Andor, this entire series, has been like quick to every conclusion that he's possibly thought of. Like he's been like, okay, this is dire. We need to do this. Oh, this like he was jumping on almost everything, paranoia, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And he was not on this case, but they're trying to leave. they're breached basically, and I love how Melchi's like staring down the 3 flashlights or 4 flashlights or whatever it was, and he just like put your guns down, the whole standoff thing, and he just like runs back into the room and they start shooting. But while that's going on, K2SO is working his way up, just smashing heads and taking names, dude. Like it's so good. He's picking people up, throwing them against walls. You just really get to see the power that K2SO units have.
Is it amazing to you guys that those droids have like no ability to run or go fast? They're just never in a rush.
Why?
He was not in a rush at all.
No.
It didn't look like it.
Well, I think more important, like what he's getting at is like it doesn't seem like he has the ability to be in a rush.
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It
Like,
doesn't look like it.
it's almost like it's an interesting thing, but it's almost like the classic like horror villains. Like a lot of the horror villains were like from the old days were like they were slow moving, and that may have been it partially to build tension, but it was also like partially to like kind of drop down their ability a little bit,
Right.
And that maybe that's part of the reason why,
Yeah, I mean,
like the Empire built them that way is they're meant for like slow moving, powerful actions.
mhm.
But we don't want them, bum rushing our units if they decide to go rogue at some point.
I'd have to look back at. I'd have to go watch Rogue One again and see if he ever runs K2SO.
That's
Really, I don't
it's gonna
remember.
be a new spotlight. We're gonna be
Another
new
good
droids
reason.
run.
Another good reason to go watch Rogue One.
There you go.
One of many. One of many.
But K2SO, he shows up a little too late because they throw the stun grenade in there, and dude.
And Melchi is a G in this moment.
Oh yeah, Melchi for sure. Like, but Andor and Clea, they take the blunt of it, and dude, Clea especially. Like, I
don't understand that, but
I think it was just the way she was flown. Like, I think because she's
the way
so
she fell, maybe she hit her head.
She flew up and hit the roof, and then came down.
Oh, did she? I
And
didn't see
Andor,
that.
he flew to the side and hit the wall.
I didn't see that. Okay.
So I'm assuming that's because of her.
Also, they never thought to like. I know you don't have long, but like they looked at that thing for at least over a second.
Yeah.
It's like turn around.
They wouldn't have been
down.
Steve Rogers, that's for sure, jumping on a grenade.
Well, even like I was just thinking, like kick it, like like
anything.
What's the worst thing that could happen in that moment with you kicking it?
Yeah.
Like that like you either take the full brunt or maybe you can get it a couple feet away from you.
Right.
Right.
But anyways, they K2SO saves the day. They get out and like nothing. Like the ISB has nothing from
they
this.
can't. Yeah. Like they literally are caught with their pants down.
And the only thing we see later in episode 12 is Partagaz, like he's gonna get, he's gonna die or go to
reprimanded.
prison. Yeah, reprimanded.
Mhm.
So he kills himself. But I wish we would have seen like the immediate like reaction
fallout of that.
like Krennic being like, "You didn't get them," like they can't find Clay. Like you don't get the immediate reaction,
Yeah.
which is fine, whatever. But
They head back to Yavin.
yes, they go back to Yavin, and they're just not.
They don't have the warmest
very-
welcome, that's for sure.
No, they're not trusting.
No.
Dude, it is
Leaders on Yavin are not trusting.
No, not at all. And we see that later on when they're all discussing what Andor information he has, and like with Mon and Bale.
They don't even believe Luthen's dead. Like they're not even 100% sure about that.
Did you verify
Did you
yourself?
verify that?
Like,
Like, what are you talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous. I find it very interesting how obviously the rebellion is established on Yavin, and there's their distrust in Luthen. Like this dude literally built this entire organization, and you have come so far from him that you see him as a threat, as an issue, as a problem. That's so mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very like human thing to do, honestly. Like in this idea of like you evolve to a point to where you don't need or you don't think you need certain types of people, and then you're too civilized for that action. You're too
That
civilized.
was
for
okay
Luthen.
8 years ago, but now we're past that.
Yeah, like they're too
Primitive.
civilized for Luthen. They're too civilized for Saul. And these are the people who like built the rebellion.
Right.
But now we need to push them out because they are the bad side or the ugly side of the rebellion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
exactly. So they are just not trusting Andor. And again, this was one thing where I was like, again, maybe one more gripe I had. Not gripe. That's a harsh word. Difficulty I had with episode 12 was like, okay, the whole series has been great because it takes its time.
Yeah.
And within a matter of hours, they go from like, you're restricted to your quarters to like, hey, we've got another mission for you, and thanks for saving the day.
Well, the thing that sped it up was that Tavik wouldn't talk to anybody except for Andor. So
Yeah, but what does that matter?
he had crucial information that they needed for the
Okay,
rebellion.
yeah. No, but no. I think we're talking about two different things. Like, sure, they trusted for this next mission. Okay, I just said that. But
Yeah.
the idea of trusting Clea and her testimony and all that, it's like, how did that change?
Well,
so
okay.
fast?
Well, there's some pieces that they put together, which Mon went ahead and told Vel to verify it. Like, and Vel went to Andor, asked everything, felt it all out, and probably we didn't see this, but she probably returned to Mon, told her like, yeah, no, this is legit. This is the real deal. Won her over, and then Bale.
See, you're making my point though. Like, the whole
Why
series,
didn't they show that?
the whole
I think
series
that's kinda what
has
he's saying.
taken the
Okay,
time.
here's the thing: we know what's going to happen from that, and so they trusted the audience to get there. Like that's just it. That's how good writing works. You
I don't think that was good writing.
You get the people there without having to actually hold their hand, so you can move the story along. I don't know.
Or you connect the dots and let us see it.
I don't know, man. I got there.
Well, again, episode 12 would just, if it was a standalone episode on its own, that's one where I'd have been like, ugh, yeah, not a great finale for me at all. But it's just like they make this whole point of all these other at the round table,
Yeah.
not trusting Andor, and then all of a sudden you literally see Mon and Draven walk in to talk to Bale, and it's like, we need to talk to you. Well, about what? And then obviously Bale's going to have to convince the other people too.
Well, I think Mon
Bale has
Mothma
full control.
almost always trusted Andor because in this when he was
No,
about
I
to leave.
wasn't talking about Mon. I'm talking about the others.
Yeah.
But I think she affects the rest of the group. Is
And
what happened.
she didn't say a word in that meeting.
Okay, I think the biggest note of it was the fact that when he asked for permission, she didn't let anyone else say anything before she immediately granted it.
Right.
I think that was kind of her. I think that was her visually showing that she had faith in Andor.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I think also the combination of Val being able to talk to Clea as well, and like because she saw her wandering in the rain and brought her back to the room, and like she kind of just helped build the case as well. So I don't know.
It's just so dumb. This is dumb. It's a dumb ending, really.
It's because you had to sprint and get all 6 episodes in.
No,
you didn't
man.
fully get
No,
to marinate
that's
on
not
that.
true. No, it's dumb. It's dumb that they didn't trust Luthen, Clea. It's dumb that they didn't trust Andor. It's dumb to me. And it's dumb the way they rushed the ending. But again, it's fine. The show is still incredible. Literally one of the best shows I've ever watched. So.
Although, also when you think about it, you have to think about how you actually thought about the rebel leaders in Rogue One. They were very similar to that, like that idea of we're not
Taking risks.
Yeah, we're very risk averse. We're very anti these small unit actions that could end up being something bad. And honestly, to tell you the
That's
truth, they then almost immediately showed up in Rogue One, changing their minds almost instantaneously to defend this action once they saw this action was going to potentially bring fruit.
I remember when I rewatched Rogue One to do our recap right before the series started, when their Jin was pitching her plan with Andor, the council members or whatever, they were so annoying, and I was just like,
Yeah.
why are they even get a say like that? Like it just. And in this last episode of Andor proved like, okay, they've been this way the whole time. Like they can't get the stick out of their butt. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, they're just very risk averse. That's their biggest thing is they want to see the whole picture, but the problem is you have to build that picture piece by piece, and if you can't build the piece, then it doesn't really matter what the whole picture is. Sometimes
Kind of reminds me when you're like playing in a fantasy football league and like everyone has an equal voice, but when you're the commissioner, everyone else is stupid. You should just do what you think is right because you're the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
kind of how it felt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone has an equal voice, but mine is more equal.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Beautiful.
Anyways, yeah. Again, the show is still incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't crazy about episode 12, but that's because it literally is just it's filling in some gaps.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I feel like the biggest thing is that the big action that you want it to crescendo into cannot happen.
yeah, but it's not. Yes, but it's even like I would have loved to see Krennic be upset with Partagas. You know,
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
loved to see.
More Krennic would have been nice, I think.
Yeah, like I would have loved to seen more all of a sudden we see Dedra in that cell, which is crazy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the jumpsuit, the white and orange
Uh-huh.
jumpsuit.
Yeah, I love how they didn't give you the full picture at first, and you just had to like.
It's like,
I was
"Is
like-
she there?
I was like, "That's a prison uniform." Like I knew, like you knew immediately. I was like, "That's a prison uniform. That's awesome."
Yeah.
Like I was like, "Oh, that's crazy."
Oh, how
Um,
cool would it have been if she was like being told to line up and it was Andy Serkis was there. Like,
Oh well, yeah. I was talking to T-Roll when we got some food before this, and I was like, "What if the like person that was laying down like behind her was Jyn Erso? Like she had been because she was in prison
that's true.
before.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah.
she was the initial action is her breaking out. Is them breaking her out.
Correct. Yeah. That would be interesting. That would have been
That would've been
actually
cool.
really cool. But yeah, no, I think more Krennic would have been really cool to see.
Well, like
especially him
even
and his
flying off the handle. Maybe if the
Yes.
reason why
Angry
he did the
Krennic.
action on Jeddah was
Mm.
because of this. Like he was just like this was just an altogether like
too many
action.
Yeah, too many things going on. He's like, I'm done. I'm over it, and he's fed up.
Yeah, and I will say also one thing too. Not trying to be critical. I'm just really trying to understand. So, how did Dedra know about Galen Erso and Death Star? Like she had access to reports she wasn't supposed to, and didn't like
yeah. She
That's
get up the chain of command or something.
she was apparently she has a cert code that allows her to access all the important stuff that they've been working on Gorman. Like it's all part of like the Death
Yeah.
Star plans. Like she was in charge of like the fuel to get to the Death
Yeah,
Star. and
right.
everything,
Yeah,
and so it was all part of that, and she had access to that. So honestly, it was like a imperial error that they activated a thing under her profile that she wasn't allowed to see, and she
yeah, and she
chose
just
not to
was
report it
like,
because the information was juicy. Like,
yeah, it was stuff that she wanted to
it's
know
like
about.
finding your coworkers' performance evaluation and and their pay
I
raise.
guess I'll read
Yeah.
that. I guess I'll read that.
That's exactly what it
I
was.
can take a gander.
Yeah,
I will say one thing I really liked about episode 12 when Krennic is interrogating her.
Ooh,
And so he,
yeah,
he turns off like the recorder or whatever because he's going to talk about the Death Star, and he's like, essentially obviously accusing her of being a spy.
Yeah,
And he's talking about Lonnie. He's talking about Young or Jung or whatever they call him, his
Yeah.
last name. And she's like, I did not
yeah,
share my codes with him. Are you kidding me?
yeah.
But if you think about it, because of her arrogance in going after Axis, it is ultimately why she's in prison.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's true. You're right.
You know?
And I also found it funny when Krennic was in the middle of interrogating her, and he's like, something that a rebel would do, and he's like, "You missed your calling, then."
You miss your calling.
Yeah,
Yes.
like just
Great
like
line.
like just the shade.
Yes.
You just throw it at her.
Oh, yeah, that's so.
And it's like she's gonna live the rest of her days in that prison.
her breaking down.
She was an ISB
Dude.
like director.
It
You
was
know?
so crazy.
Yeah.
She was like losing it off
Yeah.
the handles and just like screaming and
she starts crying.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of sad, man.
How she came, man, like the journey she took to get there, man, insane. But honestly, be honest with you, at the end of the day, what she was fighting for all along is what exactly happened to her. The full authority of the Empire is what led her to her cell that she fought for. She fought for that.
Yeah,
And-
she wanted them to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
crazy, dude.
That's a good point, man. Full circle there. Okay, other thoughts on Andor? As a series, as a season, whatever.
Dude, did you guys get emotional at all knowing that like that last scene with Bix and Andor walking to his ship and Bix is looking up at holding the baby? Like,
Yeah, dude, the baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
dude. I honestly was getting way more emotional than I should have because knowing
You'll never know.
he'll never know. He'll never know.
Yep. He'll never
And-
know that there's Yeah.
Yeah, and I so badly wanted her to like drop a name for the baby.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah, I was really hoping for that too.
Yeah.
I was just something.
The big
Who's
fan.
the baby? Who's
yeah,
the baby?
The big fan theory out there is that it's Poe Dameron, but
Yeah.
I don't mean.
I legitimately
I
think
would
we're
love
never
for
going to
that.
get anything else on that.
Well, the funny thing is that they did an interview with her and Andor,
Yeah.
Diego Luna,
Diego Luna.
and the interviewer said like, who's the baby's what's the baby's name? And she's like, she does like this whole like sheepish like Kevin James hands in the pocket kind of thing, like
Yeah.
and she's like, I don't know, and then the showrunner there is Tony Gilroy. He's like, nobody, it's nobody, like that kind of thing, like
Yeah.
just kind of shut it down.
Yeah. Well, you know who else was nobody?
Who's that?
Ray.
Ray's definitely not the kid. I promise you that.
No,
But-
I'm not saying that it's Ray. I'm
Well,
just
yeah,
saying,
that's who
but like the
nobody
same
was.
idea.
That's true.
Nobody.
Good point.
She was that they drove home that point through both of the first two movies.
Mhm.
She is nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy too. If like, like the how do I say this? The galaxy is quite large,
Yes.
and for like Andor's kid to be Poe, you know, it's just
Mhm.
like, really, man. You know, it's
Really? I mean, yeah. I guess you're right.
but you know, it was,
That's-
Star Wars does a whole thing of how many Skywalkers are there. You know, it's just
Yeah. They always find
that's
their
the Star
way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you're you think she's a Skywalker? Well, she's a Palpatine.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah.
because.
Everybody's connected to something. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
You know. I mean, the only other thing I think
Force connects us all.
you know is somehow like the baby is some form of force sensitive type of thing because of the situation with the force sensitive woman.
Yeah.
And like
Oh, that was
maybe
cool.
she was
that
sensing.
that was last week, right? You guys talked about that, or
We did. Yeah, we did.
We did talk about her originally, but you see her at the end of
Yeah, you
12
see
as
her
well.
again. Yeah,
And she like gives him this look and like, yes, this is his purpose as
He's a
well to
messenger.
be.
Mm.
He's a messenger, and that is as well. But maybe there's maybe some also maybe the reason why she can also feel it is like maybe there's some force lying inside of him
yeah.
that he doesn't actually possess to use, but he could pass it on to a child.
Which
Yeah.
you mentioned the messenger. I find it funny because in in Rogue One, when Andor's like secretly going to go and like shoot Galen Erso, and the reason he tells Jin to stay in the ship, he's like, "You're the messenger." He tells
Yeah, right.
Jin that she's the messenger. But
Yeah.
I found that pretty interesting. It all kind of flows into that.
Yeah, that is good. Okay.
Phenomenal series.
Is Andor the best thing that we have covered on the podcast? Best
Ooh.
project, movie, or show?
Dang, dude.
It is definitely up there.
Like that we covered live while it happened.
Yeah,
So you
while-
can't count Endgame, you can't
yeah,
count Winter
yeah.
Soldier, all those things we love.
Yeah,
It might be, dude.
I think it's number one. I think it might be number one. Nah, we had some fun with Loki though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's better though?
I'd say Andor's better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I think Loki's more like Mandalorian in the
Mm.
sense of like in the universe, like stylistically,
Yeah.
whereas Andor is just like
I think you're right. I think
quality.
you're right. I think it is top. If it's not top, it's like 1, 2. Like
Yeah.
it's up there.
have to
like,
really
I mean,
think about it. Some
like there
movies-
might
So
have
good.
been a movie that came out that we covered that was like can be somewhere near there.
Deadpool
at some
Wolverine,
point,
maybe.
maybe I don't know. I mean, throwing it out there, Oppenheimer maybe like as a possibility.
Different, it's a different feel.
Yes,
Different
it does definitely has a
This
different
is
feel.
a conversation
Ooh.
for after we.
Tenet.
I mean, it was a fun review. I won't know if it was
Yeah.
a better product.
Like, yeah,
No,
talk about giving T-Roll the mind.
How about
screen,
She-Hulk?
please.
Oh,
Ooh.
we had a fun for different reasons. That one.
Yeah.
Acolyte.
Yeah.
Hey, Andor is the best Star Wars property since Acolyte.
Yes,
Amen, dude.
Oh, man.
technically correct.
Technically correct. You're not wrong.
But that's
okay.
kind of correct.
It was a great season.
Yeah.
Great month, I guess you could say. It was a
Sure.
month.
Yeah.
Great series in general. And yeah, we are grateful for everybody who tuned in to listen to these reviews. We really appreciate it. Quick reminder to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Follow us on social media at Royal Geek Pod, and to please leave us a review, a comment, share this podcast with your friends. All these things help us out tremendously. Be sure to come back next week as we have more exciting things to discuss here on the pod. And until next time, for my good friends Sandy and Shamato, this is T-Roll saying thank you so much for listening to the Royal Geek Podcast. We will see you next time, you peasants.